Alright, welcome back to Medal of Honor. It seems like that hallway was just, like, completely unrelated, so... Apparently what I was supposed to do was wait for him and then... I don't know. Okay, now he's running down the hallway. I see. Okay. Yeah, we do have a drop, but beforehand, you weren't coming through, so I had to wait for him. So, that was nice. Okay, can't shoot him. No, it's Voodoo. Voodoo and Preacher. No. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, texture quality isn't good up close. I mean, it's a lot better than most others. I think mostly due to the kind of slick effect they got. But yeah, see, that's the thing. They even had like little bits of snow and other stuff, so they had like little sparkle effects to kind of make it look better than it was. Good trickery. This could probably run on any computer though. So realistically, if you just took these graphics, bumped up the lighting a bit, you'd be set, really. Like, that's the thing. Games in 2015 looked about like this, but just with better lighting, so... Like Battlefront in 2015, they used photo-scanned stuff, but the actual fidelity and resolution of all the stuff was a lot lower than what we use now. And funnily enough, they found a way to make that work better. Because kind of part of the point of optimizing your game is making sure it runs on a lot of computers as opposed to just some new ones and it still can't run on them. Oh, but they're future-proofing it. Yeah, it's if you mean it's always going to look blurry and smeared, then yeah, sure, that's future-proofing. But if you screw up the normal job and then try to cover it up with duct tape, yeah, that's going to be what it is. Oh, they want to automate it with AI and get rid of game developers entirely. Yeah, I'm sure that'll work very well for them for a few years until people eventually kind of get the better of it and are like, yeah, you know, maybe these games are kind of automated because they're actually made by fucking machines. Maybe I should be buying an assembly line product by what's supposed to be people's creative expression. Maybe, well, no, hell, you're not even buying the damn thing. You're buying conditional access to the thing. You don't even own it, so... Hell, you can imagine why it drops Steam. Whatever games I got, I'm gonna enjoy, but, I mean... At what cost? There's always a price. Time, money, or some other kind of, you know, cost entirely, and in that case, all three. Since I've already been using Steam for about, yeah, you know, 7 years. The thing about it is, you always have a choice to stop. Or otherwise not put all your eggs into one basket. Like, I'm gonna play whatever games I got on there. Which seems to be the perception of, oh, well, I said I can't, you know, I said I don't like it, so therefore I can't use Steam. Okay, I can say whatever the fuck I want. That's not how that shit works, though. It just means I don't want to buy any new games. Someone is kind enough to get the new game for me, and I don't have a problem with that. It just means I'd rather, if I get any games going forward, I'd like to actually own them. So, if Steam does not guarantee ownership, I won't be buying them on Steam. Or otherwise, I will do so very, very, very sparingly, knowing all of the terms and what they actually mean, because that's the thing is, I printed out that long-winded subscriber agreement contract, and I compared it to about 5 different contracts from CD Games, license agreements, that you have to agree to in order to play, even including this one. The Steam subscriber agreement was about 14 pages. One of them was just a blank, so I don't really count that. So 14 pages of contract. I printed out a couple others. It took about 3 licensed CD games here to get to about 14. So about 3 games worth of contract work just for Steam that I had. Yeah. That's a lot of terms to agree to, just willy-nilly, and they kind of change them, you know? Same shit with YouTube. But the thing with YouTube is, I didn't pay for YouTube. There was no hidden fee for YouTube. There was no $5. So, I kind of knew that they would be spying on me and whatnot. So, while I don't like that, I can at least understand it, because the intention is to serve advertisements to me based upon me. That's how they make money, but, you know. That's whatever. That's not actually something I paid for. See, YouTube's not a charity. That's the thing. They've been running it like it for about 10 years until they had to ramp up the actual, you know, advertising or whatever, because whoever was managing it couldn't understand basic financials, and either that or they understood it a bit too much and wanted to also limit what people could say on their platform. Until recently, where the current leader, whose name I can't pronounce, so I just kind of nickname him Indian Jones, because he's Indian. He's kind of realized that maybe, you know, if we don't want to monetize it, we can at least let this shit be on the platform, even if we don't agree. You know, maybe it's not healthy to just silence people for a decade and then let another group run wild and say and do a bunch of incredibly deplorable things, and then use censorship and, you know, mass surveillance and all of this stuff as an excuse to go and do more things. Maybe this is a dangerous precedent, you know, like this precedent of accepting this led to a few people getting killed. Big CEOs of big companies, the president, you know, getting 3 assassination attempts because of environmental and, I think, social media conditioning, and a lot of all these other conditionings over about a decade. You're told constantly that these things that take a lot of time are good. Therefore, you will kill anybody to maintain it, if need be. Makes sense. Difference is, this is a video game. You shouldn't go kill people for any reason. Killing people is wrong and bad. Killing people in a video game is harmless, but that doesn't mean it can still, you know, that's the thing that Spec Ops: The Line was trying to be critical of. Is this the only kind of game you want? Is this fun to just have nothing but this game pretty much flooding the market? And do you like this lack of interaction, these restricted mechanics, and, you know, going forward despite really having no reason to other than just being told you should? Does that sound like engaging or interesting gameplay if it comes at the expense of platformers, puzzle games, real-time strategies, you name it? Because the problem that they had was that these army games had become a barrier to colorful, fun cartoon games in their eyes, so they wanted to, you know, prove a point by making it so you weren't actually doing anything good. That's how you effectively demonstrate a point, I think, because you're showing me a good reason as to why this could be dangerous or why this could be bad. And, you know, the thing is, they're not saying that you did this in the case of the player. What they mean is that you as a person have far too much in common with Walker. When they say that you did this as Walker, they're not blaming you directly. They're blaming Walker, who you play as. Or, you know, maybe a bit of column A, a bit of column B, because Jaeger did have a lot of people. I don't imagine they all felt the same way. So there's a little more nuance to that situation, but I think that's what most people seem to have finally kind of come to terms with and agreed upon that the meaning of the story was, you know, your character has too much in common with Walker, and yeah, I'll admit it, at the time, there were far too many people who were thinking that this was a good idea because of constant exposure to the army. They thought, oh yeah, I can go join the army in real life and I'll be a hero. Starts off as a little joke, but then eventually people start believing it. Not any different with all this anime stuff. Eventually, if you tell people a lie enough, they'll believe it. Just because they've seen it everywhere. But anyway, you know, the best thing that you have to realize eventually is, for yourself or whatever, is everything in moderation. If you don't exercise a bit of caution while doing anything, it can be bad for you. And that's not what the internet and all of these people teach you now. Like anime, it teaches you that you can be fat, lazy, not work, not do anything, act like a bumbling idiot, constantly grunt and moan, make a scene. And that's a good personality trait. Even though it's the kind of thing that a disabled child would often act like. And hell, I would know. I used to be one of them. Then I grew up and realized, yeah, you know, maybe I should probably do something with my life. And I did. And while I still make games and like games quite a lot, I can't always be playing them. So, this is when I play them. I have fun. So, looks like we found our other boys. Excellent. Hope we don't have a bomb on them. See, another thing that's really effective here is in this case, you're showing me this character dying from his perspective. It's the same thing like Modern Warfare did. You didn't care about the president who gets assassinated by al-Assad, but it's impactful because you're him. You're seeing the power of this terrorist force, and it's establishing how and why they are a threat. Same way this is. See, like, that's another thing I like here. They're shaking him. Hey, stay awake. Don't die. There's like I don't know, 5, 10, maybe 20 of us. Hey, hang in there. This shit's immersive. Mm-hmm. Constantly drifting off. Pretty good. See, this was another pretty good scene. He's bleeding out as they're waiting for extraction. Uh-oh, Rabbit. I think he bled out and died. No. Yeah. Well, he's fucked. just getting started. Now, I heard Warfighter is not as good as this one, and I'm looking forward to playing that and seeing. To our brothers, past and present, this is a dedication to America's servicemen, a dedication to the debt we owe to warriors lost, and to all of our military forces who continue to defend freedom around the world. Most Americans do not know what Special Operations Forces community experience. They do not know what these warriors endure in combat, nor do they understand the selflessness. Fuck no. Born unto a different cloth, these men could have chosen a life of prosperity and chased every opportunity afforded by our great nation, giving life as they live it. They chose to leave these pursuits behind and devote themselves to a higher calling. Alright, it's fading too quickly, but you can feel free to read it, I guess. This kind of thing, the reason why we played these games wasn't to shoot people, it was to remember the fact that freedom isn't free. It is to honor those who died. To our community, and all who wear the uniform, thank you for your service to the nation, and to those in this hour who are in the fight and keep our enemies awake at night. Yeah. It's Raul Menendez. But yeah, like, the point... The point is to remember real people who gave their lives in real wars. And that's what I think's been lost throughout, because people focus so much on the literal and what's literally happening. And they don't think of any nuance to it. They just see a guy is killing people, therefore killing people is bad. But they're not understanding the point of a video game. In this case, it's a good outlet because you don't actually kill people. And until they took them away and started making cartoons, I think I'll end on this note. We didn't know that world peace looked like shooting each other in a video game. Because in truth, it got everybody in one place. This is why the Xbox 360 was so special. It wasn't just a video game console. No, it was like the Super Bowl. Except, you could go back any time. And, I guess on that note, that ends this. Well, actually one more thing. We didn't know we were making history. All we knew was we were having fun. That's all that mattered. And, I think to this day is really all that matters when you play games. So, this has actually been pretty fun. I think this was a good, solid game. There were a few cracks near the ending, like a few bugs, as you can see. A few sections were also just like, you know, whatever, Call of Duty. But I didn't roll my eyes on like that. Most people who were like openly critical about it. I think it was pretty fun. So if you can get this, definitely worth it. Especially since little DVD copies you can find for cheap on eBay for about like $4 or $5. It's pretty fun. So yeah, that ought to do it for this. Thanks for watching.